John King, USA, CNN, weeknights 7 Eastern.
And as they defied the president today, you heard Dana Bash report, House Democrats broke into chants of just say no, and also, no, we can't, mocking the president's campaign theme as they rejected this tax cut deal that Mr. Obama calls critical to the economy. It is a defining moment. And when I talked to two Democrats, Lloyd Doggett and Donna Edwards, their angst at the president was abundantly clear. There's no way to read this other than the House Democrats at war with the Democratic president of the United States, is there not?
Well, I think there's a disagreement. The administration reached a private agreement with Senate Republicans to borrow almost another $1 trillion, and most of the benefits of that borrowing, or many of the benefits of that borrowing, go to those at the very top of the economic ladder. We have different priorities, job creation and a fair tax system, and we're speaking out after the Vice President said yesterday that this was a take-it-or-leave-it deal. We're basically saying leave it if we can't do a better job of creating jobs for Americans and having tax fairness.
They're supposed to be on your side down at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, Congresswoman. Do you think the president sold you out here?
Well, what I think is that the president was pushed against a wall, and he has spoken out very clearly that he supports middle-income tax cuts, making sure that working families get the benefits of what we're doing here. And what we've said to him is that as Democrats, we're of one accord about protecting working families, and what we're doing is saying leave the deal that makes a deal for the wealthiest 2% of Americans.
Forgive me for interrupting, but you heard the President of the United States when he was asked about this the other day. You're right. There are things in this deal he does not like, but he says you can't make perfect the enemy of the good, and that those that take that position he's called sanctimonious.
Well, there was an overwhelming, resounding message coming from Democrats in the House of Representatives that this is really an unacceptable deal for the American people, for us now in this economy, but also for future generations who would have to bear the cost of adding $1 trillion onto the deficit without really doing the kind of job creation that we need. What we've said is, you know what? There's no rush to strike the deal. It's time for us to go back to the drawing board.
You say there's no rush to strike the deal, but Congressman Doggett, you could make this argument that I understand your position and I understand your principles, but you could make the cold political argument that if there is no deal this year, that the Republicans will control the House next year, the Republicans will have more seats in the Senate next year, and the Republicans might have even more leverage in their conversations with the president. Does that worry you?
Well, I think we control this Congress for the rest of this year, and we need to reflect the values of the American people, and those values don't include a big giveaway on the estate tax to the billionaires in our society. That's what we're resisting, and we're concerned about some omissions from this deal. In my part of the country, green energy and green jobs are really important, and totally omitted from this secret deal is any kind of incentive for wind and solar power. All those benefits are about to expire at the end of the year, and we're concerned that a Republican Congress won't renew them. So we're saying let's take a few additional days and get this done right. Middle-class tax cuts during this time of economic downturn, no bonanza for the billionaires, and do something about these green energy jobs that will get Americans back to work.
How much of this, Congresswoman Edwards, is part of a deeper concern you get privately when you talk to those who are, say, more liberal in the Democratic caucus, is that some of them believe that this president and his political team have made a calculation that sticking it to the liberals on this and other issues is good for his reelection?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. For those who are unemployed, for working families who need tax cuts, this is not about politics. It's not about idealism. It's about actually doing something that's fair to working families and to people across this country. And let's get it straight. 59% of the American public believes that we should not be extending tax cuts to the wealthiest. And what Republicans have done is stake out the territory for wealthy people when they're living, and they've done it for them when they're dead.
But it was a Democratic president who cut this deal, though. You're bashing the Republicans, and I get that, but it was a Democratic president who cut this deal. Do you worry that he has made a calculation post-election that this is in his best interest to occasionally stand up to you?
What I worry about is that we make the right calculation for the American people, and the way to do that is to go back to the drawing board and understand that as Democrats in Congress representing individual congressional districts, we have an obligation to the people who sent us here to protect working families, and we can say that to the president and give him a stronger hand to negotiate against Republicans.
It is a strange twist on the word liberal to call those of us who are trying to control the size of this massive borrowing and don't think it's a good idea to borrow more. We believe what the president said last week with the debt commission, that this is a serious problem. So why make it worse this week by adding another $1 trillion of debt when so much of the benefit goes not to create jobs but to help billionaires?
So, Congressman Doggett,
we can create as many jobs at half the cost. We can take half of that cost to the things that really matter to the American people and create as many jobs. Giving tax cuts to the wealthiest, giving away an estate tax, an estate giveaway does not at all create jobs in this economy, and we have to be very clear about that.
Congressman Doggett, Congresswoman Edwards, appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you both.